Basketball is very good. The Rockets are better without Chris Paul. Giannis will win the MVP. What if Kyrie Irving is actually God? Basketball is very good.
What a coincidence. I'm wearing a green hat. My name is Chris Ryan. This is Jason Concepcion. This is Justin Verrier. This is the Ringer NBA show.
Yeah.
Hit us up with questions on Twitter. #Ringer NBA. Guys, wow. I feel lucky. I don't know why. Boston is back, baby. It's really nice because they hadn't had a win in a while. So it's really great to see these scrappy guys coming back.
Blue-collar town.
Yeah, you know what? Boston just beat Golden State, and they won their 14th straight game. So I do think we should need to... Maybe this is real, man. Maybe we should pay homage to what's going on right now.
Is it real?
They just beat the defending... Are we still wondering about this?
The voice went up like you were talking about Melo.
We're not talking about Melo.
Is it real?
No, okay, here's my thing. I felt like the Warriors were never in that game. There was something off about them their entire time. It just seemed like they locked in on defense late, but the offense wasn't there for pretty much anyone, including Steph, who had to go out during the middle of the game.
It was like it was a good game to watch. It was very Eastern Conference, scrappy, a couple of bodies hitting the floor. It was a very Draymond game. And then I just feel like we didn't get any sterling individual performance from a Warrior.
Yeah, I think the early red flag is Zaza Pachulia getting like a lot of easy looks.
Yeah.
And rolling to the rim for layups, and Steph not hitting. Whenever those two things occur at the same time, it just seemed like one of those flu-like symptoms games where guys have been out or something.
DNP Boston.
And this is not to take anything away from Boston, who are an excellent team, the second best team in the league by net rating, but it just was a weird Warriors performance.
#Ringer NBA if you want to ask us questions or make comments about this game or the NBA in general. Ask us any questions you got. For as much as this was sort of building up, we built it up today on the Ringer on group chat as like the Kyrie game where he was going to show off his MVP credentials maybe a little bit. Jaylen Brown and Al Horford won this game for that team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty worried about Kyrie Irving. I think that's kind of the low-key storyline of the NBA right now.
Wait, what?
He was a bad offensive player this entire game. His numbers are...
To be fair,
shooting numbers are bad.
To be fair, his face was broken. Recently.
Conspiracy theory. I haven't seen the break myself.
I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, I want to see the MRI results.
Yeah.
I want to see the MRI results. No, but like this is a product of the Celtics, Brad Stevens, the system that they have in place here, where they can muck up a game, they can win it on defense, and just get enough from those all like auxiliary guys.
Kyrie finished 16 points, 4 for 16 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3. Took the mask off middle of the game. I think he was feeling a little bit uncomfortable. But, you know, this one of the cool things about this season, this first month of the season, has been watching whether it's Joel Embiid, Kristaps Porzingis, Giannis, sort of understand their potential and step into that potential. Right. Kind of seeing that with Jaylen right now. We're seeing that with Jaylen Brown a little bit. 22 points, 3 for 8 from 3, but a lot of key defensive plays. And when they needed baskets, he was right there.
It's really annoying how good Jaylen and Jason Tatum are at this early stage of their career. It's like terrifying. Very annoying to see that as a person who hates the Celtics, you know, with almost every fiber of his being.
The only thing that could make it worse is if his name was Paul Pierce.
Why'd you have to bring him up?
I think the good thing to take away from the Celtics, besides the win and the 14th straight win, is just that the model that they built for their team is actually going to like maybe work against a team like the Warriors. They've got all these long wing type of players, which is kind of the Warriors model.
Come at you in waves.
Right, and it seems at the very least, maybe they don't have the offensive punch to win a series, but they now have the defensive acumen and just like the defensive talent in order to like make a game like this competitive.
There was an interesting conversation that happened at the end of the baseball season when the Indians rattled off all those wins. And I remember our coworker, Mallory Rubin, actually said, you can only win so many games. There's only so many games to win. And that she felt like the Indians were basically peaking too early, essentially. I'm not saying that the Celtics are peaking too early, but they are really clicking at a very early point in the season. Are you discounting their streak right now to some extent because it's early days? There was a shortened training camp. They just seem to be clicking when other teams are still figuring it out.
No, I think they're legit.
Yeah,
I think they're probably, not probably, but they are the best team in the East. Maybe, I would probably say they're the third best team in the NBA. I still want to see the Rockets with Chris Paul. I think everybody's sleeping on the Rockets right now, just like kind of mowing through teams. They're probably going to drop 200 on the Suns tonight. But at the very least, like, they have something here. Like I said before, they have a model. It works. I do worry about, in a playoff series, when it becomes about your best players, about having a big three, whether they're relying too much on a system-based kind of approach.
That is a great point. On the other hand, they have Kyrie Irving, who is...
Not playing well?
Not playing well now, but is that guy who would be the guy to throw it to late in the clock when everything breaks down. Your system
him going
totally
to the rim
breaks down.
and then going to the line
Sure.
is what kept, tied the game.
But you look at what happened tonight, and they really kind of took Kyrie out of the game for most of it. Yeah, he was great down the stretch. He was able to manufacture free throws when they needed it most, which seems like such a small thing. Really big play, obviously. But I wonder if you just kind of focus in on him, if they're going to have enough guys around him. Especially, you look at the three-point stats, 20% from three for the Celtics. Yeah. That's not great. That's not going to win you a game on most nights.
Right. Hashtag RingerNBA on Twitter if you want to ask us questions, make comments on the game. Paul from Twitter said, did we just see the two best consecutive November regular season games in LAL Philly? Lakers last night with Philly. Thank you, Paul. And Boston Golden State. Man, this league is fun.
It's a good league.
I definitely had a very nice 24 hours of being alive, from going to Staples last night for that Sixers game to watching this tonight. I mean, I felt more spiritually awakened by the Sixers game. I felt more stimulated by the Sixers game. But this was just good basketball from tonight's. And also different kinds of basketball. Last night's was a shootout. It was all ripping the ball out of the net on a make or miss and then running and tons of turnovers and tons of fast breaks. This was much more like, it was like, I thought Golden State might walk away with it early when they were doing all these backdoor cuts and they just looked really crisp. But as it tightened up, it just felt like a kind of like a 90s Eastern Conference game out there.
It really did. To be fair, like, Golden State missed a lot of shots that they should have hit. That said, so did Boston early. They were running their offense, but their second unit guys just couldn't hit shots. To be able to claw back is really impressive. They mucked up the game in really impressive ways. Jaylen Brown and Tatum looked kind of semi-shook early.
Yes. Yeah.
Tatum especially.
And Tatum never shook that off until the very end when he hit those free throws.
And then, but Brown especially, really like dialed it down and was able to make an impact on this game. I just hate how good those guys are at this young age.
Splash Brothers were 5 for 20 from behind the arc.
Tough.
It's not great.
Yeah.
I think that's the question here. Are you... It's going to be weird to say, are you worried about the Warriors?
I know.
Not
really. A Clippers fan who shall remain nameless who's in our control booth. Right. We just made his night. Let's go to William Medina on Twitter. He asks, I'm not even entertaining that. He asks, are the Celtics legit now? I think we definitely have answered that yet. Michael Lewis on Twitter. Chris, what's up, man? Would you give up Embiid or Simmons for Brad Stevens to coach the Sixers for the next 20 or 30 years? No. No, I actually, while I appreciate what Justin is saying, I think that we possibly overemphasize coaching in the NBA. And while Brad Stevens is doing a great job, and I think that the system is great, and I think you can see the uptick. Look, man, did you guys see what coaching needed to happen for Embiid last night? Please go down low and shake 3 dudes off.
That's a little different here. It's like the Celtics obviously don't have many frontline guys. They don't even have the talent, like the frontline talent of the Sixers.
That's the thing,
Like, Pop has been winning games with
I'm not
nothing.
saying
Kyle
that there
Anderson,
are genius coaches. I'm just saying, like, what if Brad Stevens loses his 20 or 30 years of Brad Stevens? I can't tell you what Brad Stevens is going to do when he's 60.
I
agree with you.
I just think when you have a team that really has only one standout offensive player, and a bunch of guys that don't really have an elite edge in any one category, and a bunch of young dudes and second-line players that no one's ever heard of, and you're able to craft a league-leading defense and rattle off 13, 14 straight wins, you're a good coach.
Yeah, I wouldn't, but that being said, you're asking me after that Lakers game last night, I wouldn't trade Simmons and Embiid for, like, Red Auerbach or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Red's dead.
Yeah,
He's been dead for several years.
There's no coach I would trade those guys for, except for Calipari.
No, those guys are way more important.
Vincent Orlak on Twitter, are the Celtics peaking too early? We had talked about that earlier. No, probably not.
I don't think there's such a thing in NBA, in the basketball.
This is sustainable.
It's
a system that works.
Yeah, they're doing things that don't look fluky at all.
Can we talk a little bit, because we were talking before the game about the MVP race, and we noticed that we were rattling five players deep talking about it. It's like Giannis, Kristaps, LeBron, Harden, and then we realized we hadn't mentioned the name of a Warriors player. I think tonight you did see that there was not a Warriors player who was saying, put this game on my back.
Right.
I'm going to shoot us out of this. Even though they had some nice team leads of 10, 12, 14 points, there was never a point down the end of the game where KD or Steph was just like, I got this.
Yeah.
I have no real concerns about that long term, but that was an interesting development this evening.
Man, KD only 18 shots in a 50-40-100 game. I mean, 50% from the field, 40%
for efficiency
from
addicts, that's what they want, right?
I know, but at the same time, like if those are your efficiency numbers, then take more shots.
Yeah, right.
So it was a little strange to see him so reserved. He was made some nice defensive plays down the stretch, but still.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's asserted himself not only on this game but on this season.
Yeah,
I picked him as my preseason MVP. Simply because I thought the Warriors were just going to rattle off wins. They'd be so good.
Yeah.
And we'd be just looking for anybody, and KD would be the guy. It really seems like it should have been his season this season simply because of how he finished it last year.
Yeah.
You seem to be the perfect foil for LeBron going forward for the next couple of years. It's not even anyone on the Warriors at this point. I think the closest thing we have is maybe Kyrie.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah. A couple more questions from Twitter. Vance Williams says, is the Ringer staff emotionally equipped to handle a Celtics-Sixers playoff series?
Oh, my God.
I don't think I could be around Bill for the 2 weeks before and probably the 2 weeks after, depending on what happens.
Yeah.
Although he has become a little bit more benevolent since like the Patriots championships and the Red Sox
it's
championships.
almost worse,
made him
though,
soft.
isn't it?
I think it's made him soft, right?
The thing that people don't understand about the Ringer office is every day people go into Chris Ryan's office and they say, so you worried about Markelle? Or something like that. Every day. Every day.
I'm not worried.
He's not worried.
No, his body language was good last night.
Yeah. Great body language.
Is great.
He's looked great in JoJo's Instagrams.
Yeah,
right.
And he went to the Pacific Ocean. That's something that I'm not really crazy about doing.
Were you worried about him swimming like this?
It would attract more sharks.
I'm sorry, it's this arm. It's this arm.
Right. Is it going in or coming out, though?
Just fluid in the water.
We have a bunch of questions here. Run CMB asks on Periscope, when Hayward comes back, who plays the 4 in the Celtics? Luck of the Irish lineup, Brown or Tatum? Right. I think Hayward coming back would be A, pretty miraculous, but B, closer to something like Paul George when he came back from his leg break at the end of that Pacers season, and there was a minutes limit, and you could tell psychologically he was still getting used to being on the floor.
Yeah, it's hard to see like what good it would do, especially if the Celtics are clicking at that time, other than get him some spot minutes and a blowout and just trying to get him some reps, but it wouldn't do any good, I don't think.
Right. It'd be amazing if he came back because I do think that like they're a competitor against the Warriors in a finals.
Yeah. And then he gives them that little extra, where's the basket coming from?
Yes. Yeah. On the other hand, his foot was on backwards like a couple weeks ago.
I would not get my hopes up about this.
Let's stop trying to rush this dude back.
You're grossed out, but we also, as a staff watching this game...
We were all in this room, yeah.
Well, the last time we watched a basketball game in this room was that injury. Then, today, while eating copious amounts of Chinese food, for some reason, all Ringer staffers started sharing athletic injury tales. So, take that for what you will. I don't know. John Gonzalez, Gonzo from Philly on Twitter, he says, first time, long time. Thanks, John. When is the Celtics parade, and where did Justin get that dope t-shirt?
Trader Joe's, baby.
Mostly vegan.
Mostly.
That's the problem. He's not full vegan.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he would be an all-star in that case.
Let's see what else we got here on Twitter. John Powers on Twitter asks, 5 Jaylen Browns versus 5 Steph Currys. Who wins?
Wow, I don't know if 5 Jaylen Brown. I think the Stephs win, but it's a bloodbath. How many fouls do they get?
That's a great question. I guess if the 5 Jaylen Browns, couldn't they just all stand around the arc? I mean,
right.
I don't know. I have a couple more questions about the Celtics team and about this Warriors team. Do you think that there's Steve Kerr's talked about the spiritual and mental fatigue of being competitive for this long. It kind of, in retrospect, makes LeBron's achievement of going to these 7 straight finals or whatever it is, even that much more impressive. Do you ever, any body language readings you want to give? They don't have to be long-term prognoses, but did you see anything on the court? I sometimes feel like Steve Kerr looks a little grouchy.
Yeah, I think Omri Caspi looked depressed. Concerned about him. He just seemed down, about, I'm not sure what's going on in Omri's life. Omri, if you have, I hope you reach out and you find help.
Anything from you? Like any body language alerts from you?
I mean, Nick Young looks fat.
Yeah.
Seriously.
The thing is like we're not looking for Nick Young's 40 speed, right?
Sure, right. Also, I just ate a ton of Chinese. So
you're projecting.
Yeah, exactly.
Did we just see a finals preview?
Yeah. Yes, I say yes.
I'm worried, not worried, but I think the Cavs have a move in them. That's the thing.
Yeah,
if they want to cash in the Brooklyn pick. Yeah, that's true.
I was actually wondering about that when I was seeing that. I was like, these guys are going toe-to-toe with this team. Now, on one hand, I bet I could see Boston being like, we bet on these kids. Because we're ahead of schedule, and I could see them just being like, let's just go into this postseason with these guys. You get Jalen and Jason a run through the postseason as like number 2, number 3 options.
Right.
On the other hand, the window is the window.
Right.
And they have some assets left, and they have a collection of guys. They've got a lot of pieces sitting around. I don't know what you can get.
Yeah.
Like, what can you get that would make the difference?
For the Celtics, I mean, they could swing something small, like a Dwayne Dedman. I mean, I think I saw guys on ESPN.com talking about this today. They need a rim protector for that team.
For a long time, yeah.
The Cavs, too, would be great with that. Some like small things might make a huge difference.
The thing with the Cavs is I just don't see it. I don't see them cashing in that pick with LeBron.
It's too much.
It's too
unless
much.
LeBron shows up in LA and he's like, I'm not moving.
I'm not doing it. I'm going to stay.
The Celtics have that injury exception. I think they got money for Gordon Hayward's.
And you look at the Cavs, it's like just structurally, I don't know where they get better. Like who plays better? Whether LeBron is playing 42 minutes a night.
I would almost say too, part of the problem with Cleveland this year seems to be the additions is throwing everything off. It's like introducing Wade and Rose has like tilted it somehow for guys like JR and Amon and some of the other people. And that's just also they're just not playing defense. Yeah. Also, I just need to see them try on defense so I can properly evaluate what kind of defensive team this is, which they're not good, but it might not matter enough if they've got LeBron going for 45. Here's my other question. So if we're saying this is a very possibly a finals preview, is it the finals preview is it the finals that we want?
What else would you want?
Well,
Sixers.
I mean, the rubber match, the fourth, like we get LeBron versus Steph again. Or, something weird. Something like, I think Boston Golden State immediately re-energizes the finals. I have a hard time believing that even with their new pieces, if Cleveland trudged to the finals, that they could beat this Golden State team. But all of a sudden, with a new competitor in the finals, I think it would kind of re-energize it.
Yeah, I would love to see this Boston team. I just think they match up really well with the Warriors. They, like we talked about, they can send defenders to multiple positions in waves. They just have a lot of depth. What happens in close games? Who do they throw the ball to? Remains to be seen. But I think they're just a great matchup for the Warriors. You know?
Yeah. I mean, they were last year too. They played them tight.
I love the storyline of overcoming Hayward's loss and just getting to the finals. On the other hand, I would love to see LeBron against the world.
Yeah.
I just think that's so much fun. This dude is like, if anybody's going to be able to withstand that sort of environment with those sort of teammates around him, it'd be LeBron.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's just be clear. I mean, the Celtics have rattled off 14 wins in a row, but in the Eastern Conference right now, you know that the Wizards want another shot at the Celtics. You know that the Raptors, they're the Raptors again, but they're playing in a different style, and they're capable of achieving pretty great heights with their offense. Not in the postseason necessarily, but they've brought that unit back. So it's not going to be a cakewalk for Boston to get through. And if I were them, I'd be a little bit nervous about who's going to be in that 8th seed. Not that they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs, but it's going to be like a good team in that 7 or 8.
I mean, I think that's a good point. With only one transcendent scorer, it's hard to see how they sweep teams in the playoffs. And the Celtics have kind of always been like that. Like, it gets a little harder than it should be in the playoff time.
I would love to see some of these other East teams to swing a deal.
I would love
the Boogie to Washington one that we always talk about. Yes. That'd be great.
Milwaukee made the Bledsoe deal. They've won 4 in a row. I mean, these things can have positive effects. #RingerNBA if you want to ask us any questions about this game or the NBA in general right now. When do the Celtics lose? Next couple of games are, let's check this out. We've got...
I could see an emotional
They've got
loss the
at Atlanta and at Dallas next, so they could very well win their next 2 games.
I was just going to say, like, when the Warriors lost their streak after the emotional Boston game where they went to OT and they went to Milwaukee, but I don't know about that. Could be another few.
R.I.P. Dirk Nowitzki, by the way.
Oh my God. Because Kevin Durant took his whole style.
I'm sorry, Jason. he looks like he's made of steel beams.
It's crazy. Like his hips just look like he makes these moves like...
Boston's won 14 games in a row. Are they the story of the NBA season so far?
The story.
Remember from where we draw our checks.
I understand that. I actually think the story of the NBA season right now is the young players really showing out. Ben Simmons, Embiid, Kristaps, Giannis. I think that's really the storyline because this is stuff that won't emerge. Celtics versus Warriors won't take shape until the second half of the season.
Sure. I mean, I remember that the 01 Sixers team that went to the finals against the Lakers started, I think, 10-0.
Yeah.
They also made a deal in midseason to bring in Mutombo. You can get very far on an early season streak. You can really build a lot of confidence. But I agree with you. I think it's the young players. What about you? What do you think the storyline of the season so far is?
It's young players plus LeBron. Like, the Cavs have just been a tire fire this entire season. And I feel like there is that push and pull where you've been saying this whole time, well, they can turn it on whenever they want. And then there's another faction being like, listen, this thing is broken. I'm on that side of the fence. And I think that's going to be a discussion.
I'm starting to get closer to he could turn it on.
Yeah, LeBron can turn it on. LeBron, I mean,
And on any given night, if he's like, I want to go for 51 points and play 42 minutes or whatever.
But he can't keep this up. 42 minutes. And
we can keep saying that, but like, I'm saying, you're right physically, eventually, but not now. Yeah, now it doesn't seem like it.
A few days ago in that Dallas game, I wrote about it the other day. Like, he looked passive-aggressive the entire time. He was sending a subtweet that entire game by not doing it. Yeah.
I mean, there's been kind of annoying. There's been numerous plays just in the last week where it's, LeBron watches Frank Ntilikina waltz to the rim, and he does that numerous times a game against multiple opponents because he's doing everything except driving the bus.
I will say really quickly, Boston is part of this story that I'm most interested in. Not necessarily the one that's grabbing the most headlines, but the failure of the super team a little bit.
Yeah.
Not, the Minnesota, third place in the West, having a good season. Rockets are obviously good without Chris Paul. But I think I'm thinking mostly of Oklahoma and their failure to kind of catch fire immediately.
See what he's doing here?
What?
Okay.
No, I just think that they added Paul George.
Right.
Sure, I've heard of him.
They added Raymond Felton.
Yes. Yeah, I think Patrick Patterson.
Man.
Great nickname.
Who else did they add?
I don't know.
Did you play in the Big East? Do you play in the Big East? Do you play for UConn?
I don't acknowledge this person that you're speaking of.
Carmelo Anthony. So there's been a little bit of there's a rocky beginning for some of the super teams. If you guys have any more NBA questions, #RingerNBA. James Byrne asks on Periscope, Gordon Hayward, a Ewing theory candidate.
No, come on.
You got to be there for longer than 5 minutes. Right.
Kind of, yeah.
Come on.
No. Yeah, so what else? Like, we were talking about this. We'll have a post about this tomorrow, giving away some awards. We talked about the MVP award. In a normal season, I think Tatum would probably be the favorite for Rookie of the Year.
Sure.
And this was certainly not necessarily a calling card game, but a calling card moment for him to hit those free throws at the end of the season. Who do you have for Rookie of the Year?
Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
He's just been absolutely electric, and I did not expect him to be this good. His jumper still looks awkward, but he's getting anywhere he wants to on the floor. His numbers are stupendous. I mean, he had 19, 10, 5, and 5 in the Embiid game against the Lakers, and it's like no one will talk about it because Embiid Euro-stepped Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
But he's just been incredible.
He's been able to exist in this weird place where the shooting
doesn't matter.
Nobody talks about.
Right.
Because they're getting W's, and because Embiid is just akeeming, so we just are.
Well, I mean, they run that pick and roll with Embiid, and Embiid is the floor spacer in that case. It's crazy.
Yeah, he pops out.
We talked about this today, just the way that Ben uses his body and just uses his physical advantage. Yeah. It's really impressive for someone that young.
Yeah, and I don't think I noticed it until I saw him play live. It's also just like the things that you can see that are the LeBron-ish way of reading the game. He was playing free safety in transition where he would just sort of watch Lonzo's eyes and then just pick a pass out of the sky on him. It was really impressive. Who do you think has the brighter future right now, the Knicks or the Sixers?
Ooh. Why are you doing this? The Sixers, just because they have more top-level players. Yeah. But I'm bullish on the Knicks.
It's as excited as I think I've seen you about the Knicks since I've been
freebasing Porzingis 30-point games, just really tough over the last 2 weeks. It's been a special time.
Yeah, the tough thing is how do they get that second guy? We've been talking about this for weeks now. They're too good to draft him.
Justin Podium Cafe on Twitter just asked, redraft of the 2016 NBA draft, number 1, Ben Simmons. Does Jaylen Brown jump up to number 2?
Ooh, man.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like, Ingram has a lot of potential, but I feel like we've been saying that for 2 straight years now.
Yeah.
And he really needs to figure out that body.
He was holding the wheel pretty tight last night. Like,
Yeah.
he really wanted to take that game over, and it was just, like, not quite
He's
happening.
playing a lot better, but yeah, Tatum just looks like a man.
Yeah. Do you think that what's a story, what's a team that's struggling right now, or what's a team that's doing really well right now that you expect to regress or aggress back up to some sort of mean? Like, is there a team that's like, whether it's a Cleveland, whether it's an Oklahoma City, they're going through an early season stumble that you're thinking, you know what, I think they'll correct themselves. And like, will a team like Boston, say, maybe come down a notch or two, just a bit? I'm thinking maybe like a Pistons are playing a little bit above their heads.
100%.
Right
yeah, that's a team on the top of my list. The Magic too. But I think what we want to do is we automatically want to dismiss surprising starts.
Yeah.
But I would be shocked at this point if the Pistons in Orlando weren't in the playoffs.
Right.
Like we've said before, they're banking wins at a critical time. They seem to be like hitting on something that might be sustainable going forward. I think those are the type of teams that, like, yeah, maybe they'll fall a little bit. They should fall a little bit because they really don't have much to kind of fall back on. But they're good teams. They're good enough in the East.
What about you?
It pains me to say this, and this is kind of a reverse jinx, but I think it's the Knicks.
Yeah.
So much depends on Porzingis and Frank Ntilikina, a 19-year-old French point guard who can't shoot and really can't dribble, but is their best passer and best option at point guard. Everything depends on those two guys.
Maybe we shouldn't I agree with you if one of those guys goes down, especially if Porzingis has like a 2-week lower body injury.
Right.
You're going to be in trouble. But we were talking about this the other day, like, and LeBron pointed it out. It's like Hornacek getting to run his stuff a little bit is definitely like giving them a huge boost in terms of what they bring to the floor every night.
Oh, yeah, they're playing at a quicker pace, getting into their offense more. Still shooting a lot of mid-range jumpers that Porzingis is destroying from the mid-range. Yeah. But yeah, Hornacek getting to run that Suns offense that was good for like 8 months in Phoenix.
And by the way, guys are getting along. Everything seems fun.
Yeah,
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why.
Right. Well, it's been unseasonably warm in New York.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely, yeah.
The subways run really well, so I think those guys are all really satisfied with their commutes.
Yeah, flannel season.
I will say, if Tim Hardaway Jr. looks off my son Kristaps Porzingis one more time, which he will.
Yes.
I will go insane.
Yeah.
Let's do a couple more awards just while we're here. Coach of the Year, you guys think it's Brad?
Interesting.
I think so, especially after that one.
Yeah.
I think it's more interesting to say, like, who's 2.
I think what's their defensive rating, like 95?
It's
something?
insane.
That's
nuts.
that's some 90s numbers.
They're like the Pistons.
Yeah, I mean, if that
2004.
continues and they keep playing like this, it's Brad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
What about most improved player?
That's a good one. I think Aaron Gordon's the obvious candidate there.
Yeah.
I mean, you might even say Porzingis. He's gone, you know what it is? The award always goes to the guy who was already pretty good and then took a next step. Didn't Giannis win it last year?
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing. Like, if we're trying to pick who will win, it's probably someone like that. But I think it's probably Aaron Gordon at this point if you want to go.
I think so, just because it's such a surprising rise. Like, Porzingis, I think, has gone up a level above what you thought he might get to. Yeah. Certainly he's jumped, like, this is 3 years ahead of the progress you would have thought last year. Right. But Aaron Gordon just looks like a different player.
Yeah. We had this idea going into the season. It was like, well, Porzingis, but we're going to have to get Porzingis more help. And of course you will. Right. But this is what I'm saying is, like, I think this idea of pairing or tripling up on superstars is being kicked back a little bit because of guys like Porzingis, who's like, I'm so good that Tim Hardaway Jr. can look serviceable on every other game, maybe like that, you know? Let's see. I mean, like, I think that right now, the thing that I'm really curious about is to see whether or not, like, a team like a San Antonio starts to put it back together, whether or not there are some of these Western Conference teams that I think are, like, right around the same area, like New Orleans, right? Like, New Orleans, we were all laughing out of the gym earlier in the season and is now, what, like 6th in the West, 8-7 or something like that?
Yeah, they're feisty.
Yeah, they are feisty. Boogie's been putting up those numbers.
Yeah, they run some beautiful sets.
They really
by the way. Like, they're the type of team where on Twitter you'll see one like GIF a day.
High low,
Yeah, it's just like
they
this
ran
beautiful
elevator doors the other day, and I was like, what?
Yeah, it's actually really nice. The problem is they have 2 good players, and the rest are not that great.
Yeah.
But in the games where Drew Holiday kind of steps up, they get enough from those other guys. I think they're like, that'll be an interesting playoff team.
Yeah.
Like, I would love that to be another 1-8 with the Warriors because they're the type of team that might muck up the game a little bit.
Yeah, and also just love to see Boogie play Draymond. For sure.
Boogie in the playoffs. We haven't even seen Boogie playoffs.
Max Ward on Twitter, this will be the last one for the night. What rookie is flying under the radar right now?
Ooh.
The marketing.
Yes.
Is it Markkanen? He's playing really well.
Yeah, it's like, how are these guys flying under the radar? We talk about them all the time. We're talking about Kuzma. We're talking about, I guess, Donovan Mitchell. He's in Utah. He's sort of under the radar, but I feel like he comes up around our office all the time.
Brandon Paul, 26-year-old for the Spurs, just doing the work. That's a new ringer guy right there. We all love him in Danny Chau's office.
It's very benevolent of you.
I know.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. You said it. Kuzma.
Yeah.
Kuzma, baby.
Kuzma is legitimately good now. Like, we could just say that he's good.
Yeah.
This is actually... Justin Verrier was not Team Kuzma a few weeks ago.
If Kuzma had connected on that dunk against Embiid, he would not be flying under any radar.
Yeah. I think he's a little bit better than Landry Fields. Yeah. Like, maybe.
It's somewhat concerning that Kyle Kuzma is the most consistently aggressive player on the Lakers.
Right, yes.
That's weird.
Right. Yeah, none of their frontline guys are really the guys that are stepping up for that.
All right, thanks for joining us on the Ringer NBA show. For Jason Concepcion and Justin Verrier, I'm Chris Ryan. You can listen to this show on a podcast on Friday on the Ringer NBA feed.
Hey,
how about Boston?
Go Celts.
Basketball is very good. Basketball is very good. Basketball is very good. The Rockets are better without Chris Paul. Giannis will win the MVP. What if Kyrie Irving is actually God? Basketball is very good.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to NBA Group Chat. My name is Chris Ryan. Today I was joined by Justin Verrier and Haley O'Shaughnessy. We talked about last night's amazing Sixers victory over the Lakers and Joel Embiid's star-making performance, if he isn't already a star. We did some first month of the season awards, and then we were joined by Kevin Clark to talk about the Magic, and Justin and Haley and I also talked about tonight's Boston versus Golden State clash between the two best teams in the league. It's the game of the season. Let's get it going.
Embiid wants it against Randall. Joel Embiid got it and a foul! Marvelous play by Embiid, who's got a career-high 41.
It's NBA Group Chat, and the spirit is in the building. Woo! It's a gospel brunch podcast because I saw the light last night, Justin Verrier.
Haley.
I was moved, Haley O'Shaughnessy.
That's great.
I went and saw Joel Embiid destroy Los Angeles for the second straight game.
In person.
At the Staples Center. I didn't see him on against the Clippers. I went last night against the Lakers.
Praise him.
And we have to talk about this. Like, this is not Sixers colored lenses, man. This is an important story because Akeem Olajuwon back.
Sure, yeah.
First of all, always love when a guy plays up to the size of the gym he's in, where he's like, this is like a big game. People are watching. Los Angeles has got good, like the Lakers definitely have good fans. No shots at Isaac Lee. But he was like, I want this game. You know what I mean? Like,
he kept his personality, which
and
is
just
great.
was just a dominating force the entire time he was on the court.
To be fair, he did dunk all over the Clippers the night before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he wiped them out. I was just saying that, like, it was just awesome to watch him. Like, I was kind of like, well, they've been in LA since Saturday.
Right.
We know from Instagram that they have at least been to Hyde once. He and Markelle went to the Pacific Ocean, not very warm this time of year.
Sure.
Like, he could be have a little
Markelle
cold.
did not look like he was enjoying the ocean.
What does Markelle look like he's enjoying anything? That's not,
yes,
you know.
That's a good point.
So he comes out.
To be fair, the LA oceans are so cold.
I know. They are freezing. But
That
why
shocked
jump in
me.
them? You're a professional basketball player.
Right.
You're supposed to, it's not cold therapy.
You could get a
literally
cold, which, speaking of, that's why I sound like early 2000s Lindsay Lohan. I'm coming back from a cold, so I apologize.
That's a lot to unpack. So then they beat the Clippers. He has an incredible game. He wrestles with Willie Reed, does the choke sign, just basically is like, I own LA, takes out a sublet in Staples. And I had very low expectations for this Lakers game. I thought maybe he would be on like a minutes restriction or something. Nope, comes out, 34 minutes, 46 points, 15 boards, 7 assists, 7 blocks.
Why did you have low expectations when?
Because I want to keep myself together with him. And it's like, okay, he played a lot of minutes against the Clippers.
Maybe he'll just come out and play like 25 minutes against the Lakers.
Okay, that's understandable.
Maybe this is the end of a long road trip, and they're like, you know what? We did what we came out here to do.
Right, but everyone wants to bring it against Lonzo.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's that. I also feel like he's the type of player, like when you hear stories about 80s era football players where they're like, oh, I went out and did cocaine right before the Super Bowl. Like, not to say that Joel Embiid did cocaine, but like the fact that he'd been partying and he'd been out in LA, I feel like that almost fuels him. I also feel like it fuels him to just have people try to talk junk to him.
Yeah.
And he just wants to go back at them and dunk all over.
So this was basically a 4x100 relay race. Like the Sixers are 4th in pace, the Lakers are 3rd. Both teams were like ripping and running off makes or misses, and they turned the ball over a ton. They're 2 of the worst teams in turnover percentage. But the best part about it, I mean, the Embiid stuff we can get to, but you could tell right away that definitely Ben Simmons and pretty much Robert Covington just like had Lonzo's playbook. So they would both kind of hang back like safeties in the sort of midcourt area. And as Lonzo would try to get that break going, and Lonzo's thing is to throw that early pass to a guy on the above the break
and surprise everybody.
Ben would just jump it.
Right.
Like they would either tip it or intercept it. And it just completely spooked Lonzo. And then in the middle of the first quarter, I think, at the end of the first quarter, Brett Brown puts TJ McConnell on, and TJ McConnell just guards Lonzo 90 feet. It just
not a good sign.
Press Lonzo ball. It was awesome. It was like completely took him out of the game. They had no countermeasure. The Lakers only looked good when they were playing all the guys that are not on billboards, with the exception of Kuzma. But it was like KCP, Clarkson, Bogut, Brewer. Those were the guys who kept the Lakers in the game. Because otherwise, if you were just like, wait, how come the Sixers aren't up 25 right now? That's how lopsided it looked out on the court.
Yeah.
But just a breakneck game. Like, I can't explain it. And the crowd was even just like, whoa, like looking back and forth. And I think that one of the things I took away from this was that initially watching a few Sixers games, and you guys jump in whenever you want to just tell me to calm down.
No, we love this. Keep going.
I was like, I'm really into this team. They're really exciting. I want to see a little bit of like tactical sophistication with what they're doing, because right now they're making the most passes. I think they're making the most passes of any team in the league. They're whipping the ball around. They're moving it well. But I'm not sure, like the Ben not being able to shoot thing makes watching basketball feel awkward, because everything you're expecting to happen doesn't happen. You're like, oh, right. So he's got 8 feet of space here. You should nail this. Nope. Like he's either like go in and do a hook shot, or he's going to throw a no-look whip pass to JJ Redick in the corner from like 22 feet away.
Right. JJ and Covington are like their saving grace.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've been encouraged over the past few games. I went to the game on Monday, and although they're a young team, this should like theoretically be a clash of 2 of the youngest like up and coming teams in the NBA. But the Sixers don't play like that. There's like a level of sophistication that they have, and I think, well, for one thing is that the rookies are also old. But even Ben Simmons, for his first year in the league, like he just plays with a level of poise that's like, I don't want to just overshoot this, but it's LeBron-esque. Yeah. He just has like the body control, he has the court vision, and he has the ability to like know when to use his strength versus when to like kind of get around guys. It's like, it's really exciting to watch.
He also, initially in the first few games of the season, there was a little bit of troll concerning going on about how Ben and Embiid were taking up some similar areas of the court, where like Embiid really liked to stand at the top of the key and play like the Garnett role, and Ben also sort of like to stand at the top of the key and play floor general. That's taking care of itself. And I was initially kind of like traditionalist, like why is this behemoth standing at the top of the key? He's the only. It's like obviously the inefficiency would be to put him down on these smaller guys. But now I really like this Garnett role for him, because it keeps him super engaged in all the sets for the first 3.5 quarters of the game, and I think it kind of maybe saves his body a little bit to go low at the end of the game and basically be the closer.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the game, they would just dump it into him, and they were playing Randall on him one-on-one, which was basically like go jump off a cliff. And then when they did try to start doubling, he just moves the ball right out of there.
Yeah.
He just gets it right out of there. So it's not only just Embiid's individual accomplishment, the fact that he says he's only at 69% healthy. Very nice.
Nice.
It's the fact that like they seem to be getting better.
Did he really say that?
Jesus.
Yeah. He said, I think I'm only 50% healthy.
Oh my God, I love him so
actually
much.
69. And then he looked at the camera.
He's the only one that could pull that off, and we're not just like rolling our eyes out.
Did he wink or anything, or just
I mean,
deadpan?
Everything he does is wink. I would say that the coolest thing that happened, though, was like sitting in the Lakers. I was as a civilian last night. I didn't go as media, and I wanted to be able to cheer. And watching Lakers fans turn on Luke Walton because he wasn't doubling Embiid, and just like watching like the Sixers bring the ball up the court and they'd be like, double him, what are you doing? Yeah. And it was just like, wow, this guy can like turn a gym against a coach.
Yeah, Julius Randle was on him way too often.
Yeah.
It does speak to like his versatility. That, well, for one, it speaks to the Lakers' overcommitment to small ball, where it's like they don't have enough big guys, and it's just like, who do you throw on Embiid?
The only guy who gave Embiid problems last night was Bogut.
Yeah, because I think that's the way to do it, especially because Embiid hasn't been doing well from three.
Yeah.
Like I was watching him during that Clippers game, and John Gonzalez, who was sitting next to me, was just getting pissed the whole time because he does this ridiculous pump fake from the top of the key where no one is falling for it, especially because he's not shooting well from three, and then he just keeps doing it. That's like all of his offense starts with that to a certain degree. But other than that, like you really need to put a big body on him or he's going to just stomp you.
Yeah. I mean, it's just... the only guy, like I said, giving problems was Bogut.
Where do you expect them to be in the East?
I think that there's going to be some regression in terms of, first of all, like they'll just have injuries. I mean, they'll just have that right now. They have like a pretty tight rotation.
Right. They are a little shallow.
I don't think Covington can continue to shoot at this clip. Although, like, shout out to Robert Covington getting paid, but also like on a really good deal for the Sixers, frankly. You know, I mean, like they rely a lot on JJ and his outside shooting to stretch the floor because from the perimeter, you know, Ben is not a threat. But this group that they have can beat almost anyone on any given night, and that's really exciting. It's the first time that's been that way in a very long time, since like before the Doug Collins years. To feel like every night you have a shot against any team. So it's really cool. As far as the Lakers go, let's talk a little. I'm not even here to be like, let's get Lonzo Ball in this pod for SEO purposes. But are we concerned?
He's just kind of fallen in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
I feel like he hasn't.
And Luke's mind, because he got benched.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but that's necessary right now. They can't play their young guys in games like that in the end.
I would argue that they should be playing him through all that. Like, trial
because they're
by
gonna
fire.
Lose anyway.
Right. Yeah, just trial by fire this. Just like make sure he knows like how to play through these sort of things. I was encouraged early in the season despite the poor shooting. Just because when you watch him, especially up close, you see how he gets everybody involved. I was like the last person on this hill. I have since died on this hill myself because he just can't shoot. Like, it really just throws off everything he does because he also doesn't have the dribbling ability and the handle to kind of get by guys.
Yeah. Right.
So he really doesn't provide much on offense other than passing the ball.
Or even like the ferocity to get to the rim.
No. Yeah, he's very passive.
He is. I could see him being good against teams that like sag back or play compact defenses, and he's good at unlocking defenses with like sees passes that other people don't see. He starts breaks where there aren't any breaks happening. But for a team that's playing like they've all been snorting Ritalin for 3 days, like he's just not going to be. He can't play with a team that's that aggressive with him. And I felt like, you know, like I don't want to be. This is hypocritical because I'm like Markelle doesn't have the yips. It's, you know, he hasn't even played. But like Lonzo was shooting like he had the yips. You know, his shot looked very, very, very bad.
Yeah, and when you just said like, yeah, you know he can't shoot. It's not that he's making like, you know, 4 a game. He's literally sometimes making none a game. Having
said that, I'm still in long term. I still think he is a cerebral type of player. I think if you had a good team, I still think he would be really good at it. But I don't think he's going to be the type of player. And maybe this is too soon to say this, but it doesn't seem like he's even the type of player that's your number one.
I don't think that's unreasonable to say like long term, especially since Magic had that comment the other day where they said, we're going to let him shoot like he wants to shoot through the season, and then we'll revisit it after the season, which I think is the right move. Because if you try to tweak too much mid-season, it kind of just throws a guy off more, and it becomes very mental. Yeah, once you get into this
process of being on the road and like the whole NBA sort of production line of like games, like I don't know that you get that much work done on your game, your individual game during the season.
Yeah, I mean, you hear those stories all the time of guys saying that they fell out of shape during the season.
Right. Nobody practices, so you really don't have time to work on the mechanics and all that stuff, which is what he needs. He needs to work on the basics.
I would say that if we had one lesson that we learned, and tell me if you guys agree with this, from the first few weeks of the season, it's that I think because we got so hyped on this rookie class, and because we have seen guys like Towns come in and just completely impact the league and change the fortunes of a team, we're kind of like, okay, like rookies can come in right away. But for the most part, you know, the NFL recently has started just bringing rookie quarterbacks in and playing them right away. But it's traditionally like accepted for there to be an apprenticeship period, and in the NFL and in the NBA too. Like, I remember there's been plenty of situations where Draymond Green really only started playing because somebody got hurt. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you bring Draymond in. You're like, Romo. This is what we think he should be doing. So I think that applies to Lonzo. It applies to Markelle. I think expectations are really out of whack. And I think those teams are in very strange positions because on one hand, they want to sell tickets and shirts and put these guys on billboards and be like, look, we're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like those guys need to learn how to play the game first.
Right.
Yeah. It's partially like the Ball family's fault for just building up the hype all this. But also because
Justin Verrier takes shots at LeVar Ball.
We can write that post.
I think we've been writing it.
I think it's also that, but it's also the fact that this is the biggest drama to the season. Like the fact that on draft day, Danny Ainge basically just said, this guy isn't our guy for Markelle Fultz. It kind of set up this long-running thing where it's like, this is what we're worried about. Because the Warriors are not going to create inherent drama within the season. We know who's going to win. So we turn to the rookies because these are the most exciting guys. And I think because of that, we've been watching every Lonzo game, every Fultz like YouTube video of him shooting with the wrong hand.
Every IG story where he's smiling or not. All right, guys. So we are 15 games about into the season. And we figured it would be a good spot to kind of take a step back and give away some awards, see what we think of the season so far. So let's start at the top with the MVP award. Pretty straightforward. And we've discussed this a couple weeks ago. I think we started talking about the way the race was shaping up. I guess I know that some traditionalists get annoyed if MVP discussions happen anytime before April or something. But
we can just call this of the month.
Of the month,
right?
We're 1
Player
month
of the
into
month.
the season.
Okay. We're not saying that because my answer is kind of, I think, not sustainable.
Well, let's find out. I was wondering if this might be a unanimous decision by our board.
Let's say it on 3.
1,
2,
3.
Chris.
Ooh.
Wait, who did you say?
Kyrie.
Yeah,
I said Porzingis. Yeah, we both said Porzingis.
Kyrie.
Yeah, it pains me. Hurts deep down.
Did you miss Danny Chow putting in our Slack earlier that his stats are not
I did not miss
impressive?
that. In fact, I was holding on to that like with deep. I also did not miss that you were like, I disagree.
Yeah, no, I'm very much in on Kyrie.
Yeah.
Despite the stats.
Here's my concern with Kyrie. Just to jump ahead here, I think it's very Derrick Rose-ish. Where Kyrie isn't why they're excelling. It's clearly Brad Stevens in the system and what they're able to do with whatever parts they throw in there, which is why I actually have Brad Stevens Coach of the Year. But I think Kyrie, in the same way Isaiah Thomas was kind of the bullet, whereas like the gun is what actually is the power behind it.
Sure.
Is the apparatus.
I get it.
And he's just like the means by which they're like winning games because he's the one who's scoring.
Granted, a very talented means, but I see what you're saying.
Sure.
Just let's get something 100% clear. I did not want to say this. Like this is just for me using the logic that MVP awards usually have, which is the story of the season. And I think that Kyrie leading this team to the league best record without Gordon Hayward after losing him in the first 5 minutes of the season. They've been gutting out wins. I don't even know if Kyrie has had like a signature victory. I mean, he's had really good games, but he's been playing great. He's played through this a couple of little small injuries. Plays 30 minutes a game, 22 PER, 20 points a game. And the fact that he is doing this with a group of, I mean, you wrote about this, Haley, like all of these random new Celtics who are stepping into new roles. They're playing without the defensive sort of stewardship of Avery Bradley, but they're an even better defensive team this year than they were last year.
Right.
Horford's been in and out, and through it all, Kyrie has led this team to win after win after win.
But like Justin said, I think that speaks way more to Brad Stevens.
Right.
Because he really knows how to play to people's strengths. And there's no way that Kyrie just decided, you know what, like, I was so mad all those years in Cleveland, I didn't want to play defense. Like, that is also in part Brad Stevens.
Right. And so I would say for similar reasons, that's why Porzingis is our MVP pick, because that roster is even worse. I feel like, if anything, I would give Executive of the Year to Danny Ainge for picking the right rookies, getting Jaylen Brown in there. He really looks like the type of guy you can win a title with. I think the Knicks have like 2 good players. Like, I was trying to convince myself that Tim Hardaway was actually good yesterday, and it just didn't happen because he took the most insane shots at the end of that game. They're already 9-5. The Knicks are. Their over/under was 30.5. So they're already a third of the way there, which is freaking insane. Yeah. Like, I just think Porzingis is the best player on the court most of the time and the only reason they have any shot.
Do you think what do you think about the fact that we spent the first 2 weeks of the season obsessed with Giannis? Giannis is the MVP, Giannis, and then we changed the channel. Like, did something drop off with Giannis, or have we just turned our attention elsewhere?
I think the latter, because Giannis is always going to do what, he's always going to like take over the games and be the Bucks main guy. I just think that's like other things have emerged and been more exciting. Even like, I put this as second place for MVP, but like angry, vengeful LeBron has been very entertaining. And I think that he is like slightly embarrassed by what happened in the middle of the first month. And so he's like, all the things, the Instagram post after the New York game, it's just like, I think that we are going to see like this fire underneath him that comes out like at least once or twice.
Do you buy the idea that fire could burn him out before the most important time of the season?
I think they're asking a lot of him. I watched that game against the Mavericks on Saturday, and it's just like, if he's not the one doing it, I don't know who it is. Kevin Love even stepped up in that game, and you're really getting nothing from any of those positions. So if I had a ballot, which I put my top 4, I had Porzingis, I had Harden second. Like, we overlooked the Rockets just because they're just rattling off wins. Yeah. But he's been very good. And I haven't really been watching because I'm more interested in how he and Chris Paul kind of congeal.
The Rockets are kind of having the season that I think the Cavs were hoping to have, quiet victories.
Yeah, exactly.
Quietly put it, like, just moving through, no drama, everything's working, we're working on this thing, we're adjusting that thing, but in the meantime, we're putting away W's. And, I think as soon as the Cavs just got to that around 500, everybody smelled blood in the water. And now it's become this circus that, it happens every other year for a LeBron team, it seems like.
Right.
All right, so Kyrie, Kristaps, I think we are unanimous in rookie.
Yeah.
It's your boy,
Ben Simmons.
Yeah, it'd probably be better to talk about like our second place.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting. Yeah. Who do you have second?
I kind of have a tie between Dennis Smith Jr. and Donovan Mitchell.
Interesting.
Ooh.
It's hard for me to put Donovan Mitchell like a solid
to
second.
see him with truthful eyes.
Louisville's own.
Yeah. Well, but also like we can't ignore that like his shooting has not been great.
Although he has been asked to fill the cup a lot.
Right. And I think that as the season goes on, or maybe, next season, we'll see that all this repetition has really helped him. But it's hard for me to put a guy shooting like that in second place. But also he has games where it's like he just lights it up.
It's interesting. They're actually doing with Donovan what you were saying that you wish they did with Lonzo, which is let him play through it. And I think he's like such a competitor that you can see he knows that there's a lot of betas on the Jazz team. Like even Rodney Hood and these guys who were supposed to have step up years.
Right.
Like Donovan's like, I'll take 21 shots. If nobody else is going to do it, somebody has to score.
And I think that really relieves like Rubio because I don't think he wants this burden of like, I have to put up all these points. And I think it's probably been really difficult on him to be relied on like that. Yeah.
And I think for that reason, I like those guys long term. I like what it means for them 2 years, 3 years from now. But because their shooting percentage are so low, I didn't have them on my ballot. I had Tatum second.
I had Tatum
second.
second.
Tatum.
Yeah. I also had third Kyle Kuzma, a.k.a. Kyle Kuzma.
I had him too. And I'm wondering when that becomes something that everybody it feels comfortable saying. It's almost like we're scared of putting another Lakers rookie, like giving them the full recognition. But if Kyle Kuzma was like on the Jazz, we'd be having the exact same conversation that we just had about Donovan.
Yeah.
He's very good. Like I was in doubt early in the season just because I didn't know if the shooting would translate. He's actually not shooting from 3 all that well. I think Kuzma's at like 32%, maybe under, but that's literally the only thing he's not doing well. He's shooting like 50%. He's starting for a team. He's playing solid defense. I think he just makes sense. I think he's a guy you could just plug and play.
Brian Windhorst was on the Ryan Russillo show a couple of days ago, I think, and they were talking about Embiid actually, and they were talking about this idea of when a player begins to understand what he's capable of and realizes that the other team can't stop him. So he was comparing it to LeBron's first playoff run. And he's like, Embiid understands that no one can stop him. It's really interesting to watch Kuzma play because I think he thinks similarly.
Right, like he doesn't want to take
there
Lonzo's
is almost
shine.
like this hesitation in the entire arena on Walton's part, on the team's part, where it's like, could this guy just be the number one option? Should we? There's a real hesitation. He almost had the dunk of the year on Embiid last night, and if it had gone down, we would be having a completely different conversation
Embiid's
today.
facial expression after that was like, that could have been bad.
Yes.
Which was amazing.
But what you're saying is just, it speaks to just the labels we put on guys based on where they're picked. Like, how many chances did Anthony Bennett get simply because he was the number one overall
Exactly.
pick?
Right. And if Kuzma had started cold in the beginning of the season, people would have been like, that was just summer league. That was just preseason.
I expected that. Yeah.
A Lakers.
Shout out
myth.
Megan Schuster, by the way, who
Stuck with him.
Literally the first possession Kuzma had in summer league was like, that's the guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Shout
early.
out Schuster.
All right. So I think are we all in agreement?
Wait, I just want to say,
sure.
I forgot about Tatum because I actually forgot he was a rookie. He
All
has
right.
been playing great.
He's
Yes.
having
Him
also
and
the
Jalen are
classic rookie of the year season. Where it's like
Right.
just already solid.
right. Yeah.
Right. He's a vet.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
That is kinda
and
cliche of
are you into Tatum's season so far?
Yes. I love him and Jalen together.
Yeah.
That's a great duo.
I think we all have the same coach of the year.
Yeah.
yeah.
Brad.
Yeah.
Although I will say, Pop being able to put together like a decent team with what they have on the court right now is insane. Like LaMarcus Aldridge was trade bait, and we thought he couldn't fit in there 4 months ago, and now he's I think like top 15 in PER. He's like a legitimate first option for that
Yeah.
team while Kawhi's out. So he deserves some love.
I have another shout out for Coach of the Year.
Okay.
The combined 19-9 of Stan Van Gundy and Tom Thibodeau, who we threw under the bus a couple weeks ago, saying the league had passed them by. So
That's true.
Detroit and Minnesota both being good. Minnesota, I think we hoped
Shaky
and
good,
expected
yeah.
they would be good. Detroit, is a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
And
100%.
And it's pretty fascinating just to see Stan Van Gundy turn Luke Kennard into an NBA player like immediately.
Right.
I also think that Hornacek deserves some praise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not
LeBron agrees with you.
necessarily exactly. I loved that quote LeBron was saying after the game, which is so funny because there's this thing where now we just ask LeBron what he thinks about everything, even when it's not related to him. And he said after they played New York, I think Jeff Hornacek is finally, with the release of the old fella, he's finally allowed to implement what he wants to do on the team, which is obviously like Phil Jackson and the triangle. And then Kristaps said the exact same thing. And yes, their offense looks much, much smoother and better than it did last year, which was just like confusing. You know, everyone looked confused.
LeBron takes any chance he can to throw shade at Phil Jackson. Was I kind of love?
Yeah.
Although him going at Ntilikina, I really didn't appreciate.
I know, I didn't
just
like that.
Kind of a jerk move.
I think I agree with you, but I also appreciate the fact that LeBron understands drama.
Yes,
and that
he's TNT.
he could have just been like my bad little guy and run past him, but it's the Garden. Like do something crazy.
Yes.
You know,
That's
like
true.
make it dramatic.
That's true.
Speaking of Ntilikina, he is my biggest surprise of the year.
Wow.
I did not ever see him play basketball before this NBA season. Didn't really know who he was. Thought it was just, I mean, I had no doubt that he would be eventually fine, but it's very rare that a rookie is praised so passionately for his defense.
I love it.
And it's just been such a surprise to watch him out there. And now all these, like, they're the Knicks Film School Twitter account just putting together defensive montages of Frank Ntilikina on a nightly basis. So that's my biggest surprise of the year. Haley, what's yours?
I would reiterate what you said earlier and say the Pistons.
Yeah.
Because I think that a lot of people were really low on them after what happened last year. Because it's like, yeah, they started off with Reggie injured, but then when he came back, it kind of got worse. So I think that people were like, even when he's healthy, it's not going to be great. But I think that we all knew going into the season, everything had to fall right for them. You know, Drummond had to be better. Reggie had to be, more selfless. And their outside shooting had to work, or at least they had to take a lot more shots, like traditional Stan Van Gundy offense. And they're second in the East. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I had them second on my ballot. I had Aldridge third, and I had the Magic first. We got into Yeah, we had
Aldridge is another case like Giannis
right.
of the first week or two we were obsessed with Aldridge's renaissance, and then we all got bored and watched something else.
It feels like 2 years ago already.
This is what happens with peak NBA TV. Just, everybody's moving on to the next thing. So Aldridge was number one.
I had Aldridge third. I had the
third.
Magic one simply because I debated between them and the Pistons, but I think the Magic, I didn't see that coming at all, whereas like the Pistons have at least had some success and they have Drummond, so it's like splitting hairs basically.
For biggest disappointment of the year, I went with Markelle and Lonzo having slow starts, because I think we had so much hope and we were positing them. I mean, that's the Fultz thing. No matter what the reasons behind it, is tough. I don't think it's. I also we haven't had really like an update in a while about what's going on. It seems like the indefinite. They weren't kidding about the indefinite part. He's with the team. He seems to be enjoying himself. I caught him laughing a bunch of times last night, but
that's great.
The number one and number two picks struggling like this is sad.
Yeah. Mine is so those are huge bummers, but mine is someone who was absolutely supposed to be way, I think, better than he was the last 2 seasons, which is a high bar, and that's Karl Anthony Towns. Last night against the Spurs, he did have a big game, and it was his birthday, so happy belated.
Shouts to Scorpios.
Yeah, shouts to Scorpios. But he should be having a bigger year. Like, don't get me wrong, he's still averaging 21 points on a team with Jimmy Butler and Andrew Wiggins, but I think that there were much higher expectations for him, and I think that he should be in the conversation that we're having about Porzingis, that we're having about Giannis. And it's interesting because we praise those two so much for how exciting their offense is, but the big problem with Cat is still his defense.
Can we go off script a little bit here?
Sure.
Is Cat on the Wolves and the way that the Thunder played, obviously better without Melo, but just in general, like the sort of problems that they've had in the beginning of the season, super team backlash? That not that there's only one ball, but that even just philosophically, there is a hierarchy to basketball lineups and to basketball teams that doesn't support true big threes. That there needs to be a Bosh.
There needs to be the Bosh,
and even in that case, there needs to be a Wade, which is I think Butler is really playing a really good Wade role this year.
And Butler's like, look, I can pass. That's fine. Wiggins
and I like to play defense, and Butler, you feel like really is winning is the most important thing to Butler.
Absolutely.
And if Wiggins takes the winning shot, as long as it goes in, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I wonder whether or not the big threeification is going to be a short-lived trend.
I think even last year, Wiggins and Karl might have both thought that they were like the number one option. This year, it's much more imperative that that's cleared up.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a case of where we are in the season too. Like, obviously, teams that have an established hierarchy are going to be able to put things together quicker. Whereas it took the big three Heat, that entire season just to really kind of come together to figure out who plays where and like when someone goes when. I will also say that despite all the concern over the Wolves, they're third in the West right now.
Yeah.
So I am worried long term. So I also wonder if this is a regular season versus playoff sort of thing too. Whereas, yeah, maybe it makes sense in the regular season to reel off wins to have a hierarchy. But when it comes to the playoffs, you really need 2-3 guys to just go in there and be superstars. That's what wins basketball. It's like not to be reductive, but like you look at every freaking good team in the playoffs. Those are the guys who have several guys that can do it.
Yeah.
Except for the Cavs.
Cavs. Disappointment.
Yeah.
For me, Kyrie Irving, simply because every time he opens his mouth, it's a giant disappointment to the entire world.
That's good.
I'm also a little concerned now about my Charlotte Hornets. I think they're 5-8 right now.
Okay.
I'm pretty.
God, the
what's
quietest
the problem
team in
there?
the NBA.
I just don't think they have good players.
Jeremy Lamb came back down to earth.
Like Dwight Howard definitely fell back to earth very quickly. Like even when they were playing well, like his shooting numbers weren't as good as they should have been. And I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. It wasn't a good sign when he showed up at preseason with weird like contact lenses in too. And like Nick Batum is back, so he's really the only guy that can dig them out of this. But I think they might end up at best kind of bottom playoff team.
Okay. Very quickly, let's do the Tony Allen Memorial Good Guy Award, aka the low-key dude you're in on either because of how he plays or his social media.
Mine's Jonathan Simmons.
Okay.
Oh.
Super energy guy. He Okay, so it just came out that he told reporters that LeBron James called him over the summer and was like, dude, play with me. And he was like, no, because I want to beat you. And now he's playing on this team where he's on the bench.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He started like one game, but he's not like bitter about it. He comes in, he's a super good energy guy, not afraid to drive to the rim, will literally go against any huge guy in the league. I just love it.
Yeah, he's one of their 5 most important players on that team, which is cool to see. He comes in, he definitely brings them something. Mine is Enes Kanter, easy one. Like, this dude showed up like 5 days ago and he's already standing up for his boy. It's like if
family in all caps.
Right. It's just like, as if like someone at Sweet Green tried to step to me and Danny Chow was like, get away from him.
So Danny is Enes Kanter.
Yeah. Don't go near his Kale Caesar.
Okay. I have to go with a slightly less charming, I think inherently charming person, but Eric Bledsoe, because I'm really happy for him 4 straight with the Bucks since he joined the team. 4 wins in a row, to go from where he was exiled from the Suns, tweeting from the salon, getting indefinitely kicked off the team by Ryan McDonough, but then traded to a great situation for him in Milwaukee and immediately making an impact. And I love watching Eric Bledsoe play. I think he's had like a lot of really tough breaks in his career with injuries, and I don't know that he's ever been in the really. Was he played like on 2 good teams?
Yeah.
And, you could make the argument that you make your own luck, but it's awesome to see him play on a team that really deserves having like a great player like him. It's also the weird example of an addition to a team that doesn't seem to have disrupted the team. It's just made it better. So moving Brogdon to the bench was actually, it's just improved their rotation and their depth. So shout out to Eric Gordon for having a second act. Eric Bledsoe, sorry. Did I say Eric Gordon the whole time?
No, just one. Okay. Just the last time.
Sometimes I do get Eric Bledsoe and Eric Gordon confused, but I meant Bledsoe.
Yeah. I slip up Paul Millsap and Al Horford like 3 times.
It's a little different.
We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and then we're going to talk to Kevin Clark a little bit about the Orlando Magic, but we'll be back to play Guess the Narrative with the Warriors and the Celtics game tonight. Let's take a second to chat about the NBA show's sponsor, and that's Hotel Tonight. It's an awesome app for finding and booking great deals at great hotels. The holidays are coming up, and you know what that means, Haley. Lots of family time. But with Hotel Tonight, you can have the best of both worlds. You can visit your family, and you can stay in a sweet hotel. No crashing on an air mattress in your old bedroom that your parents turned into a gym. You don't even have to wait until your family starts to drive you crazy. You can actually book up to 7 days in advance everywhere and up to 100 days in advance in certain major cities, which means you can lock down your holiday plans before you head home. Or wait until the last minute if that's more your speed and make a break for it when Uncle Tony starts talking politics.
Oh, Tony.
Oh, Justin. We all have an Uncle Tony. Whether you need a room for tonight, the holidays, or beyond, you definitely want to download the Hotel Tonight app, because while home is where the heart is, the hotel is where the room service is. So this year, pull out of the pull-out couch and get a room with Hotel Tonight. Today's episode of the Ringer NBA Show Group Chat is also brought to you by Wish. You want to save big? Over 300 million smart and thrifty shoppers have discovered Wish, the mobile mall app that connects you to thousands of merchants. Wish makes it easy to shop fashion, shoes, electronics, kitchen gadgets, and more directly from the makers. And that way, you pay 60 to 90% less than what you pay at a store. No markups and no overpay. They even have an outlet section with products from amazing brands like US Polo, Champion, Wrangler, and Hanes. And if you can wait a few weeks for delivery, you'll get lower shipping prices than almost anywhere else. No wonder it is the #1 shopping app on the App Store and Google Play, and the highest rated mobile shopping app in the world. Plus, all you basketball fans out there will be glad to know that Wish is the official mobile shopping partner of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Kuzma!
Get your Kuzma gear! And now for our listeners, Wish is offering all new users with a free gift with purchase. But dedicated Wish lovers, don't worry about being left out. All listeners get 20% off your purchase by using our code RINGERNBA. Just download and open the Wish app, find things that you didn't even know you needed, and enter code RINGERNBA for 20% off your first purchase. Uh-oh, it's magic. Little Rick Ocasek to get this started with you, Kevin Clark, because we wanted you to come on to NBA Group Chat and talk a little bit about the Orlando Magic. Elfrid Payton's team.
So I was redoing the NBA 50. So Drexler's off. Aaron Gordon's in.
Yeah.
George Mikan's definitely out. We're going to put Jonathan Simmons in.
Where's
and
Vooch?
then Vooch is going to replace Nate Thurman. And so those are the only changes that have been made. Jury's still out on LeBron and all those guys.
I think the funniest thing you've said on Slack since we started working together. I mean, you've said incredible things to me in person, but on Slack, the funniest thing you've said is when Kristaps didn't play against the Magic, and you responded to that news with Aaron Gordon flu game.
Yeah. No, it was, so Kristaps obviously scared of the Magic.
Right.
And for good reason.
He ducked him.
For good reason, the Magic destroyed the Knicks that night. Yeah. So a couple problems with the Magic right now. So first of all, they still have a winning record.
In case anybody doesn't know, feel-good story of the season to start with, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
One of the biggest surprises, if not the biggest.
Right.
Definitely.
Lots of are the Magic for real posts.
Right. And it's not. It's not just the Magic are good. It's the individual improvement. Like Aaron Gordon. Terry Stotts was saying this yesterday. The Atlanta Sentinel wrote about it. Terry Stotts said he's never seen improvement like Aaron Gordon, where you're a 29% three-point shooter, and then all of a sudden you're hitting 50% of them. And maybe it's just a small sample size, but like the stroke is good. He's hitting dagger threes. Like he has the confidence. And so, I mean, I kind of believe, like, if Aaron Gordon's not going to shoot 50% threes over the entire season, but if he becomes a reliable three-point shooter after being really bad for his first 3 seasons, I kind of agree with Terry Stotts. Like, who's better?
So are you low-key making the case that he should be the small forward of this team?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's such a jumbled mess. It's such a jumbled mess right now. I mean, and that's part of so the shooting has obscured a couple of other issues. First of all, when Elfrid Payton was out, they went 5-1 and had incredible ball movement.
Yes.
So that's one thing that's aside. But also just the shooting has carried them in so many situations that they the ball movement hasn't been as good as it should be. But B, I don't think we know who our best guys are right now. I mean, I just think
that was charming in the beginning of the season. It was
wow,
they got a lot of
guys
tools.
Out?
They got they can hit you with this Swiss Army knife of a bench. It's so interesting. Yeah.
Right. And so Shelvin Mack was getting minutes last night. Obviously, Augustine was hurt, but like, I just think that Vogel is still finding out what his rotations are. At one point last night, the Magic, when the Blazers went on a 17-0 run in which the Magic turned the ball over 7 times. So we obviously there's some runs to be had against us.
Right. Seems good.
Yeah. And so I just, I love this team and I love the individual improvement. Evan Fournier is playing really, really well. We always knew he was a good offensive player, but he's a complete player right now. Biyombo is not a horrendous contract. I just want to say that. I get heat sometimes because everyone's always like, what are the bad Magic contracts? And I don't really say Biyombo.
Do people hit you up on Twitter and ask what are the bad Magic contracts?
No. I was on a pod with Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Over the summer, and they were like, who are the bad contracts you can dump? And I said, we don't actually have any like outsized, horrendous contracts.
For what Biyombo does, I think he is a bad contract. If he's not starting, he's a bad contract because he's getting paid like a starter. I think in a vacuum, it isn't a bad contract, but within the context of what he actually does.
It's also in terms of roster construction. It doesn't make any sense.
Especially when you have
many.
Well, no, I have Isaac too, coming back.
Isaac's been hurt. Isaac is hurt currently.
Right, so but I think if you want him to ascend to that kind of 4 or 5 hybrid role and not necessarily have another big.
No, I know that, but I do think
just checking.
The 2 things that we need, because Vooch is not that, is defense and a post presence.
Right.
And Vooch wants to stretch the floor, and that's great. But I don't really know Vooch's role if we have other outside shooting and we have other, guys who can hit 15-foot jumpers. I just don't. We've long argued about Vooch and
I have not.
And his role. Verrier and I.
Well, like a week, but sure.
Mostly Danny Chow and I.
Okay.
But his role in the modern NBA. I mean, 15 years ago, Vooch would have been a phenomenon. He's just not. He's not that anymore.
It's fair to say they've had the results they've experienced recently are, it's a contribution is the fact that they've been on a West Coast road trip. They lost to the Warriors by 10.
Yeah.
They lost to a Denver on the night when Jokic went nuts, and they lost a tight game to Portland last night. So it's not. I wouldn't really raise the white flag yet. I guess the question about Orlando that we were asking before the season is, what's the goal here? And do you want to draft from the John Hammond sweet spot of the mid-first round, or do you want to lose a lot of games so that you get one of these top 3 guys?
That's a great question. So I would like to miss the playoffs again. That would be my hope. Maybe get the 10th pick, get one more piece going forward. I think that we're not there. We're not the Sixers. we don't have the pieces where it's like, okay, we're going to go forward and this is our team. If Elfrid Payton were an elite point guard, then we're talking about something else.
Yeah.
First of all, we have to sign Gordon and Payton presumably after this season. They're going to be restricted free agents. That's one thing roster construction wise we need to keep an eye on. But I do think we just need one more piece to pair him with Isaac. If we start here and we just start building towards it and we just start drafting, with the 18th pick, that's not going to get us there.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're similar to the Knicks in that their surprising start has been exciting for now.
Yeah.
But unlike the Knicks, I don't think Porzingis is obviously a frontline guy. And Jason Concepcion has been saying the fact that Porzingis has stepped forward and shown to be a top 10 level guy, that's enough to satisfy not getting a top pick in this next draft. I don't know if Aaron Gordon has reached that status. He would need to show himself to be an all-star in order to make good on this being a playoff team. For you to come away from the season being fine with the 6th seed.
Right. I mean, there's two different things. I think Aaron Gordon can get this team to the playoffs. I mean, I just think that his game has improved immensely, and I think he can get there. It's two separate things. Like you said, am I happy to be the 7th seed and lose to Cleveland in 5 games?
Right.
Not really.
Right.
I'd rather miss it.
You don't want to be Detroit from 2 years ago or whatever it was, who just got who got in by the skin of their teeth, got worked by Cleveland, and then didn't almost seem to have a hangover with it for the next season.
Right. You can't take that past this season. Or
right.
These playoffs. Who are the keepers on this team besides Gordon though? I look at the roster and I'm like
Isaac,
and then
Fournier,
maybe Simmons.
Is Fournier?
Jonathan
keeper?
Simmons.
Yeah.
Fournier is a keeper. Jonathan Simmons,
who sees himself as a LeBron contemporary. So that's great. I love that.
Spot the lie.
I want to ask you one question before you take off. You're one of my you're a true NBA fan in the sense that you view the NBA through the prism of your home team, of your team. Mm-hmm. And those are the most interesting fans to talk to because I'm always curious what your observations are.
I just found out about the Warriors a couple days ago when they played. I had no idea they were that
good. What's the best team that you've watched this year? Warriors aside, what's the best team you've seen Orlando play?
Oh, jeez. Certainly not Cleveland.
No.
Because Cleveland was terrible. The team that played the Magic the best, I mean, it's hard because, we were rolling through some good teams. We destroyed the Cavs in one of their worst losses in history. I don't...
The Celtics game.
The Celtics game, yeah. I mean, I was just talking with Bill the other day. I mean, the Gordon Hayward injury is a basketball tragedy, and it bums me out, even as someone who is just very parochial and territorial about my team.
I don't think you can get a raise just for saying that.
Okay, cut this whole thing. I'm sorry. The whole reason I showed up was to try to do that. No, it's just the Magic have been such a weird team, and when you hit threes, that's sort of what happens.
Yeah.
Is that you can beat good teams, so you can't really tell who's good. I mean, the Blazers impressed me yesterday a lot. The Warriors obviously were incredible. The Magic, by the way, were winning that game in the second quarter, and I took a screen grab. The Warriors,
really?
The Warriors,
good.
Yeah.
Something to pass down to your kids. Okay, so we're going to come back and talk a little bit about tonight's Warriors-Celtics game. But thanks to Kevin Clark for talking about the Magic.
Thanks, buddy.
Basketball is very good.
Okay, thank you to Kevin Clark for that incredible Orlando Magic insight. I know that I feel smarter. Justin?
Yes, I know so much about Orlando now.
A little sadder, honestly, just hearing it.
A little sadder.
Yeah.
Game of the year tonight?
The year, sure.
Sure, so far?
Yeah,
right?
so far.
Yeah. The entire rest of the season. Well, nothing will add up to
Here's the thing I hate about the Warriors. They don't give us games of the year.
the thing.
They do them in the Western Conference Finals and in the finals. They have great, the Memphis game from a few years ago when they got the record was awesome. But 9 times out of 10, as someone, and I'm looking at Jason Cahill as I say this, as someone who has gone live after a Warriors game that was supposed to be exciting and tight and been sitting there with the remnants of my own life and my own failures as they win by 25 points.
Yeah.
I find it hard personally to get worked up for Warriors games.
Right.
That being said, this is in Boston. Boston is the hottest team in the league. Boston has one of the best players in the league going full guns right now. I don't know. I'm pretty excited. I'm trying to keep my expectations tempered. Haley, after this game, what's going to be the headline? Guess the narrative here.
I would love if Boston won and all of a sudden we start having that is Kyrie better than Steph debate.
Oh yeah.
That's
just
a good
because
one.
not because I believe it, but just because I love drama like that. And
Right.
I think that'd be really fun. And I also think that if Boston won, it'd be really, really hard for the crowd that says Boston is going to get out of the East to not just become everybody, because it's not that unreasonable anymore to believe that.
Yeah, I think one team is going to ascend to frontrunner after this game. I think it's very likely that's going to be the Warriors. I think after that Wolves game, was it last week, where they just blew them out in the second half, I was like, the Warriors are the Warriors now.
Yeah.
I feel like if they do anything like that against the best team in the NBA, like the other best team in the NBA, then it's done. It's
to
like,
be fair,
I'm done with them for the rest of the season.
The Warriors.
Yes. Hit me in the playoffs.
Now, do you feel, would you rather watch the best team every night?
No, I would rather watch an up-and-coming team every night.
But I remember I think when the Heat were the best team, because there was so much drama surrounding them, and because teams actually did try to bring their best against them, because there was a little bit of, you ruined it. You ruined the league by joining forces. Mm-hmm. I felt like that was must-see TV. The first few years of the Warriors were incredible because you were watching almost a new kind of basketball be invented. But now I agree with you. I'm just kind of like, wake me up in May for these guys.
Well, with those Heat teams, there was still less of a talent disparity than there is now with the Warriors.
Yeah.
So the only time a Warriors game is fun is if they semi-collapse, or if something happens. Like the Wizards game against them was one of the most exciting all year. Someone got ejected in that game.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal and Draymond Green got ejected, and it was so much fun.
My guess, the narrative is going to be, wow, Marcus Morris really went after Draymond last night. I just feel like it was interesting watching when Bogut and Embiid were going after each other last night, and I was like, oh yeah, he's got his number a little bit. I'm still waiting for somebody to pull Draymond's card a little bit.
Yeah, it almost was Beal.
Yeah.
They were in like a headlock in like one point in the game.
But that was mostly Beal. Like Draymond actually did the right thing for once.
Yeah, right.
So,
good guy, Draymond Green.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so any predictions about tonight? I mean, what do you think's going to happen?
I think that the Warriors will win, and I actually think that they'll pull away before we want them to. So maybe like the third, early fourth. But that's not what I want, but that is kind of what I think.
You guys have been talking about how the Celtics are reminding you of the Spurs, so I think it's going to be a Spurs game where Boston goes up 20 early and we freak out, and then the Warriors have like a 40-point swing and win by 20.
I think at some point the Warriors are just going to wallop them, because this is the type of game that they should get up for.
Yes.
Because they've probably been hearing the past 2 days like, oh, the Celtics might be coming for you guys.
Right.
And it's just like, hold up, we have 5 all-stars and you're playing a rookie and a dude with a flat top against us. Like, fall back.
Okay. All right.
Flat tops are great, for the record.
We don't have a show next week, so happy Thanksgiving to everybody in advance. And we will be back the week after that with NBA Group Chat. Until then, for Haley and Justin, I'm Chris Ryan.
Basketball is very good. Basketball is very good.
Today's episode of the Ringer NBA Show is brought to you by Hotel Tonight, an awesome app for finding and booking great hotel deals. There is no more crashing on your air mattress in your childhood bedroom this year. Instead, lock down your holiday plans with Hotel Tonight. Book a room up to 7 days in advance everywhere and up to 100 days in advance in certain major cities, or wait until the last minute if that's your speed. You can make a break for it when Uncle Tony starts talking politics. Whether you need a room for tonight, the holidays, or beyond, you definitely want to download the Hotel Tonight app.